The skies near Pokrovsk were filled with the rumble of explosions again as a Russian convoy advanced, unaware that it had entered a death zone. Aerial footage showed rows of armored vehicles and ATVs, along with dozens of Russian infantrymen driving through an open road, a fatal mistake under the watchful eyes of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. From high above, the 155th Brigade's combat drone pilots calmly locked onto their targets, every enemy movement mapped, every vehicle marked. Within seconds, a precision strike was unleashed, the first blast hitting the lead vehicle, halting the convoy, and triggering panic in the Russian ranks. Flames and black smoke billowed, breaking up the enemy formation in the narrow lane near Pokrovsk. The attack continued unabated, with Ukrainian drones dropping their lethal payloads one by one on the armored vehicles, attempting to maneuver out of the firing zone. The thick armor proved no match for the crews inside. Subsequent explosions shook the ground, metal fragments flew, and the Russian convoy became a burning iron grave. Dozens of Russian troops accompanying the convoy attempted to spread out and take cover, but the open terrain offered no protection, and every escape attempt was clearly visible. Precision strikes were launched again, sealing off all escape routes, but footage showed the targets being eliminated one by one while fire continued to spread along the convoy's path. This operation confirmed the 155th Brigade's tactical superiority in modern UAV-based warfare. Disciplined coordination, precise reconnaissance, and unwavering execution demonstrated that every enemy movement in the Pokrovsk sector was under constant threat. No shot was wasted, no attack fired without calculation. For Russia, this convoy symbolized the failure of ground operations in the region. Attempts to bring troops and vehicles to the front line ended in utter destruction. For Ukraine, this was a stark message. Any enemy column moving without cover would be punished swiftly and fatally. Near Pokrovsk, the 155th Brigade once again proved that the skies belong to Ukraine, and under that watch, no invader is safe. At the same time, in the Dnipropetrovsk region, overextended and unable to retreat, 53 Russian soldiers were killed and 19 surrendered after Ukrainian forces exploited dense fog to launch a combined arms assault. Here, the Russians are trying to build up a bridgehead across the Volcha River to advance further. However, Ukrainian forces attacked them at the right moment and conducted a daring maneuver, not only to push the enemy back, but also to endanger their flank. Ukraine's goal in this sector is to neutralize the Russians in Ivanivka before they can dig in and outflank Novopavlivka. Clearing the enemy and recapturing Ivanivka would not only eliminate them from this side of the river, but once secured, these positions can also be used for exerting pressure on the flank and isolating other Russian units, further diminishing their offensive capability. The Ukrainian plan involved an element of surprise to catch the Russians off guard, deploy tanks to soften up their resistance inside Ivanivka by pinning them down with their firepower. At the same time, the use of FPV drones in the preparation stage would allow the Ukrainian infantry to systematically sweep through the settlement and neutralize the remaining disorganized Russians, bringing it back under Ukrainian control. The main Ukrainian tactical advantage is the location of Ivanivka, as it is separated from the main Russian forces by the Volcha River. Because of the weather and the proximity to the river, the Ukrainians can also benefit from the dense fog, preventing the Russians from using drones, while allowing the Ukrainians to use tanks, which can provide stronger fire support. Also, if we take a look at the topographic map, we can see that there are Ukrainian positions located on the hills north of Ivanivka, looking down on the village. This provides a significant advantage, as the Ukrainians maintain full fire control over the settlement and the river crossing, while possessing superior observation points and benefiting from improved signal coverage for drones. To keep Russian troops in Ivanivka supplied, everything has to be brought in across the river, which makes their logistics much more complicated. Furthermore, the Russian positions inside the village are too weak and too close to the front line to permit secure crossings of armored vehicles over the river, which means the Russians are unable to deploy such or even bring in significant forces with ease. As a result, the Russian assault groups found themselves overextended and without enough support to compensate for the unfavorable conditions, making them an easy target for the Ukrainians by using Leopard tank and fiber optic drones soften Russian positions. Ukrainian forces launched their operation at a well-chosen moment, before Russian troops could establish themselves, attacking under thickening fog, which temporarily reduced the threat from Russian drones, and exploiting conditions that made it possible to use tanks in an environment where they are otherwise rarely employed. Geolocated footage shows how a Ukrainian Leopard 1A5 tank conducts preliminary strikes and fires its 105mm cannon from a concealed position, targeting concentrations of enemy infantry. In the attack, the Leopard tank hit the Russian positions in the village spot on, killing 2 Russian soldiers and wounding others. To supplement this, Ukrainian operators launched their FPV drones with fiber optics to hunt the remaining soldiers one by one. After the Russian positions were softened up, Marines of the 37th Brigade descended from the hills and started clearing the enemy dugouts in close-quarter combat using small arms fire and explosives, while drones circled above and dropped grenades on the remaining Russian infantry. As a result, Ukrainian forces advanced 1.5 kilometers in a 5-kilometer wide area, clearing Ivanivka completely and pushed back the Russians behind the Volchcha River. 53 Russian soldiers were killed during the operation, and the remaining 19, recognizing that withdrawal was impossible and that the main Russian contingent was incapable of mounting a rescue, chose to surrender. Overall, Russian forces advanced into Ivanivka, hoping to establish a bridgehead over the river, only to land in a kill zone in the lowlands. Ukrainian Marines capitalized on the bad weather and used tanks to destroy the enemy contingent, left without an option to retreat. When the Russian High Command decides to assault in this sector again, they will meet an even bigger obstacle, as they would now have to cross the river again, facing an improved Ukrainian defense on high alert. At the same time, after capturing Ivanivka, the Ukrainians will be able to conduct raids on the flank and put the Russian salient to the east under